Good afternoon, everyone. It is Master Jose Torres coming to you live with the Martial Arts Experience Season 5. We've been doing it now for the last 5 years, which is crazy. We started the show right after COVID and had some amazing, amazing guests. I feel like I haven't been on forever. Life has been crazy, been moving around, doing some different film projects. As everybody knows, just wrapping up on the third episode of City of Honor. And today we are kicking off a guest as well as a special just human being, and I'm glad that I get to bring kind of like full circle season 5 this individual back to support and actually give him his flowers, because without this individual, I'm telling you right now, all these wonderful media and movies that are coming out would have never happened. So I see him smiling backstage, so I'm about to bring him on. He is the man, the myth, the legend, director Jim Towns. How are you, sir? How's everything?
I'm good, sir. Thank you very much. It's exciting to be on season 5.
Yeah.
5 years you've kept this going. That's amazing. Good job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know, it's funny because we first started this, Jim, right with COVID, you know, and I had William and you know, Sean Kanan and Marty Cove and all these different people, you know, on the show when we were all locked in. You know?
Yeah. Is that how you met Will? I haven't on the show.
I met Will through Sean Kanan, who I met Sean Kanan through Daryl Vidal.
Okay. Oh, it's a whole Karate Kid, you know.
It is a Karate Kid
something.
Yeah, clan, cult, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. Good deal. Good deal.
Yep. You know, and it was funny because as we go into our history, but even our connection was because of Jim Town, or excuse me, was because of William led me to you, because I didn't know you.
Absolutely.
Before I met William.
That's how. Yeah. Will was like, hey, I got this guy I want you to talk to. He's going to be at Dragon Fest, and you're going to be at Dragon Fest, so you guys should sit down and talk, because he's trying to make some movies and he's talking to some people, and I think he should talk to you because I think you're going to get what he's trying to do more. You work more in his kind of world and stuff. So and then that was, I don't know what year that was at Dragon Fest. Was that
2023 or 2022?
Yeah, that's
I think it was 2023. And then I visited you in August, and then we basically hit the ground running, right? And we started shooting. What was it about?
It feels like we were shooting like 3 weeks later. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, but it wasn't much. It was pretty quick. I mean, because you know, we sat down, we talked, and we ended up talking for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
just going through, and you had a lot of questions, but you had good questions. You had like questions that let me know that you were serious about doing this, and that you had already an idea of where you wanted it to go. It wasn't just like a flight of fancy, like, hey, let's make a movie. Would it be fun? Whatever. It was I want to do this, and I wanted to lead to this, and you had a strategy, and we just got along so well. And I found you such an agreeable kind of guy. And I was working currently with some producers and stuff that I was not having a lot of fun with as creative collaborators. And I was like, you know what I need is a creative collaborator who I get along with, and who I like, and who I enjoy spending time with, because that's the thing, like, you know, making a movie is like, it's like a marriage. I mean, you're hooked together at the hip for a couple of years at the very least, but by the time, you know, you're pre-production, shooting, post-production, distributing, promoting, you know, and so the thing that I've evolved into in my later, you know, couple of years is just like, enjoy the people. You got to enjoy the people you're creating with, and I've really enjoyed all of our creations together. This has been a great collaboration, man. It's been a great partnership.
It's been awesome. And you know, to tell the viewers the amount of patience that Jim has had with me from the beginning to now is, you know, because I didn't know anything at all, you know. And
you were a newbie. You definitely were a newbie. I mean, you knew your side of the thing. You knew the martial arts, and you knew networking, and you kind of producing too. Like, you had that set. It was just the fundamentals of actual production.
Correct. And I learned, you know, and there was a lot of learning and, you know, understanding the process, and everybody works different. Everybody's got a different workflow, right? From cruise to cruise. And it's funny, but it was, you know, I was very blessed to, you know, kind of have my first one with you, you know, because, you know, I was able to learn. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of good things. And, you know, we had some difficulties, you know, we had some parameters that we had to go through with people not getting through the airport, and just crazy stuff, stressing, you know. And I remember
text messages at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah, texting you 3 in the morning, like, we got a problem,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, well,
I woke up at like 6 and I looked and I had 17 text messages from you. I was like, this can't be good. This, oh boy. Okay. All right.
you know,
Yeah,
but
we dealt with it. We
we
managed
did,
it.
we did, we
And
did.
that's the other thing too, is you want people that you can, you will meet a certain amount of adversity in any kind of, even a small film production, especially a small film production, actually. And you want someone who takes adversity and deals with it, focuses on the moment, and then is able to kind of nimbly move into a B strategy, not the
Mm,
person who just freaks out and starts yelling at everybody and blaming other people for their, all that stuff like that. That's,
right.
again, you just, and it's not just films. I think it's just in any kind of endeavor, in any kind of life and stuff like that, just surrounding yourself with positive people who are enjoyable to be around when everything's going right, and supportive to be around when everything's going wrong.
Right,
So there you
right,
go.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's crazy just how fast the process moves, right? Just
Mm.
where right things happen and just moving, and when you have to shift and move. But Jim, what I want to do is before we really dive into our previous project, I want to let the viewers know about you. You're an accomplished director. On multiple facets of multiple things, from features to shorts to documentaries to, I mean, everything. You're with William for 52 Masters, which
Yeah,
again was the first thing. I got to be honest with you, that was my jump off point, was getting on 52 Masters and
that's
putting me
right.
in a different platform. That we didn't. I really didn't know was there. At that time.
Yeah,
So
Will's like, this guy from New Jersey is going to bring me out to direct an episode of. I was like, okay, cool, whatever, whatever. Some dude in Jersey.
yeah, exactly. And then it was funny because like we did a screening. We did the movie screening. That's the first
That's
time I
right. That's right.
full something. We had like
That's right.
250 people. We had 250 people for a 30-minute
Yeah.
show, which was crazy.
And that was the other thing. Will's like, this guy can get people to show up to things. This is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
well, no
So
problem.
Jim, how did you get into this industry? Because the viewers that do know, but the viewers that don't know, you're an East Coast guy. You're an East Coast guy originally.
I'm from Pittsburgh, yeah, and we Pittsburgh's Rust Belt, but we actually sort of categorize it as East Coast because we have kind of an East Coast mentality.
Yeah.
There's kind of a work ethic, no BS kind of mentality to Pittsburgh for sure. At the same time, kind of an arty mentality. And I grew up very arty. I grew up as an illustrator, as a artist, drawer, a painter. I went to art school for illustration, and then for comic book illustration. Actually, it ended up being my major at the Savannah College of Art and Design. Came back to Pittsburgh. I lived in Philly and I lived in New York, and I did various art projects there for a couple years before kind of moving back to Pittsburgh and having to reevaluate some things because it was it was like the late 90s, and it just, what I was trying to do artistically, I felt like was not landing and finding an audience. And I started, I mean, if it was finding an audience but not a big enough audience for it to be like a livelihood. And the whole like, your mom saying like, you're going to end up living under a bridge if you do art and everything like that. And I was starting to get worried that that was going to be prophetically true. Around that time, digital cinematography was coming around and becoming like viable, as opposed to like camcorder kind of technology. And my friend Mike McCown and I shot a short film in 2003, I think, and then did a longer film. And right around that time, I had a friend move out here to LA. So I moved out for like a month or two just to follow him and just to see if it was a thing I was going to dig. And it kind of was and kind of wasn't. But I did decide that this was going to be the place I needed to be if I wanted to become seriously becoming a filmmaker for a living. So I moved on 2005 and did a bunch of PA jobs out here for a couple years and slept on couches and slept in the back of movie theaters for a couple while, did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then met a wonderful lady and my girlfriend and then wife and I started a life together here. And slowly but surely, and slowly, I will confess, the film business kind of picked up for me to the point where now I'm just busier than I'm even comfortable with, which is, it's a good, I mean, busy's good, but it does come with like a lot of I've got to the point where I've got repetitive stress injuries from filming I'm shooting so much and stuff. Yeah. So, but it's been super rewarding. I just enjoy, as an illustrator, it was a way to express myself visually. But as a filmmaker, I get to write, I get to shoot, and in the past 5 or 6 years now, I've been shooting all my own stuff myself. So I'm my own cinematographer. So I get to lens the thing and frame it and whatever. I get to work with music. I get to color. I did get to do choreography, which I do have a slight martial arts background. So that kind of, I love shooting the action stuff because of that. And so I kind of get to tap all the different points and stuff. And that's why it's just, I love doing it, man. I love it. I'm so
awesome.
Happy to be at this stage right now.
Yeah. Now tell the viewers, and I know we talked off stage, was you were the assistant or you were on a production for Bob Saget, right?
Yeah. As I said, my first kind of gigs in the industry, I was a PA on a bunch of multicam sitcoms, which is the old style sitcoms where, like Dick Van Dyke and everything were shot that way. My first gig was on the Reba McEntire show. I did the last season of her what was the CW network at that point. And I got to work with her, and that was an incredible experience. Just as a director, you're sort of the head of the production, and people set their behavior on you. And when I worked on Reba, obviously the show's named after her, right? And she was on time, super professional, would talk to anybody, was incredibly friendly, newer lines, everything. And when the person that the show's named after acts like that, no one else gets to act like a schmo, right? Like shit, that's the part. So that was a very important lesson I learned from her. The next show I worked on was a thing called Surviving Suburbia with Bob Saget, who at that point I think he'd been doing the voiceover for How I Met Your Mother for a little while at that point.
Okay.
And that was kind of, aside from the home, what was it called? Family, what's the show called with the Olsen twins?
Oh my God.
Full House.
Full House.
Yeah. But aside from being known from Full House, that was the thing he was kind of currently doing. And then also he was hosting America's Funniest Home Videos or something like that. So I don't want to say, his career was just, it was coasting. And then he got that show. And I want to say, I don't know this for sure, but I think Louis C.K. was the original choice for that show. And he said, no, he didn't want to do that kind of formulaic kind of comedy. And they maybe went with one or two other people. And then I think Bob was the guy they ended with. So, I don't think that, I don't think Bob was the producer's first choice. And I don't think doing a show like this was Bob's first choice, but that was sort of what happened. But just like Reba, would show up on time and be, know our lines and stuff like that. Bob worked through the process a little bit more. Memorization maybe wasn't his strongest kind of thing, and he came at it being so well known for Full House that he really resisted the idea of playing this domestic father character, because that has so been established, and that so wasn't his thing, and he had weird young women stalkers with daddy issues and stuff. He'd had all these weird experiences from that, basically.
Wow.
So to the point where he never wanted his name on his dressing room door, his actual name, just in case. So he would tell me, just make up. So I was the set PA, so that basically made me his personal assistant almost. Yeah. So he would have me put different names on his next to his door. Right. And we were starting to come up with funny stuff like Seymour Butts and Amanda Hug and Kiss and stuff. and it just got crazy until at one point my assistant director came down to me. He's like, hey, so the studio people went up to visit Bob in his dressing room, and yeah, you guys need to stop doing the name thing. They didn't find it. Whatever we had up that week, they did not find
it like that.
Bob found it hilarious. Bob, the sillier the names got, the cornier the joke got, that Bob found it hilarious. But I had such a good experience working with Bob. He was such an incredibly nice guy, so sweet, so whatever. And then we did the show, and then the show didn't do a second or season or follow-up season and everything, and I didn't talk to him for years and years and years after that. And then I was on Twitter, and someone made a joke about who's the guy who played Uncle Jesse, the hunky dude.
Oh my God!
You know who I mean? I can't remember.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Ruben Stamos. Yeah.
John Stamos. Yeah.
Yeah, John Stamos. Someone made a joke about John Stamos helping out everyone in the production, buying them all blankets, or I can't remember what. And I made some joke. Well, I worked with Bob Saget, and Bob Saget didn't do shit on my production, or like that. Just making a joke. And Bob reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, Jim, like, I'm so sorry. Was I not nice to you?" He's like, I don't remember. I was like, "No, dude, I was making a joke." So I deleted it. I'm like, "No problem."
Oh,
And then
geez.
he and I just, I'm not kidding. It's like 2 in the morning, and he and I are texting back and forth. And he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm married. I'm making films. I'm really having a great time." And he's like, "I got remarried too, and I'm so happy, and things are going great. And we just had this great thing." And he was like, "I'm so proud of you and what you've done." And like 4 weeks later,
Wow.
the news came out that he was dead. Yeah, it was just out of like, I was like, "Whoa, that was the weirdest, just the weirdest thing."
Yeah.
Uh, you work with people who have achieved a certain level of fame, and inevitably their guardrails are up because X amount of people that are going to approach them or try to interact with them want something from them,
Right.
and that's just how celebrity works in our culture, right? Someone perceives that this person has access to the ability to uplift them, and and in my few experiences of being able to like actually have like an interaction with someone who's of a certain level of popularity and notoriety, when you can have just a regular human interaction and just talk like people and stuff like that, it's always, I think it's a great experience. It's a relief experience for them, and it's really interesting to just talk to someone who like, you know gets recognized when you walk down the street or something like that. I mean
Yeah.
what that's like because you get recognized when you walk down the street, right?
I
You're
don't know
you're
about
a,
that.
you're a well-known guy now, star of TV and movies.
Yes, 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 yes. I can't go. I have people stopping me at the 7-Eleven. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know,
Yes.
right? Aren't you that Jose Torres guy? They
Oh,
challenge you to
man.
fights like they used to with Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
challenge.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Well, Jim, let's talk about. I want to talk about three of your projects. And obviously you've done more than three,
Yeah.
but we picked these three that we're talking about. So I would say in your time lane, right? This would have been the earliest one, correct? House of Bat.
House of Bad was my first solo feature. I co-directed my first two films with my friend Mike McCown, and then this was the first production I got going here in LA when I'd been out here a couple years. It was produced by my good friend Scott Frizzell and his then wife Dorota Skirpick, uh, and it's about, I think, something I've done pretty well in my career for my projects is kind of mix genres, and I used to call this a haunted heist movie. Uh,
Mm,
it's about three sisters who steal a bunch of drugs with the plan to sell them so that they can get out of all their bad situations. One's an ex-con, one's married to obviously a drug dealer, one's a stripper, um, and they hide out in their parents' old cabin up in the mountains until the
right.
heat dies down is the plan. So they're going to take 30 days and do up there until whoever, they sold the drugs for stops looking for them. The problem is the house is haunted by the spirits of their parents, and the spirits of their parents start turning their sisters against each other. Heather Tyler, Sadie Katz, Berkeley Sands, three, great actresses. It was great to tell. There's the thing called the Bechdel test, where like, do any of the female characters in the movie have discussions with each other that are not about men, and I think something else I've done is have a lot of good female characters, leading characters in my films,
Yeah.
and that was kind of initial foray into telling that kind of a female driven story. I was really happy with it, and I'm still, I mean, it was done. It was film directed by a younger director who was still figuring out some things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I just think it kind of holds up and everything. It is now is been re-released now. It is available on the Fossum app, which you
There
are
you
well
go.
familiar with. Yes,
Come on. Come
new
on.
poster and everything. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now we
yeah.
followed this up. This was because right, was there a time delay between End Times and Beast Within? Right, was one earlier than the other, or how it got
Oh,
released?
massively. End Times was produced and was in post for quite a few years.
So that one
Uh,
was
and,
specifically right after this one, right? House of
yeah,
Bat.
it
Okay.
was yeah, within like a year or two, I was
Okay.
directing End Times, which was originally called State of Desolation, but it was
Wow.
the name was changed by the distributor. Yes, yeah, we shot this one in like the late 20 teens. With Jamie Bernadette was the lead actress. She came in and her partner at the time was producing it. Um, and it's about it's about a zombie apocalypse where Los Angeles is quarantined into a giant, like, 40-mile diameter quarantine zone, and these two people trying to get out of LA. One of them is kind of your typical Orange County girl, and I just got yelled at by somebody online talking about this character, so I'm not going to say it the same way because some people just are going to have a freaking problem about anything. Thanks, dude. Um, she's someone who's ill-equipped to survive a zombie apocalypse. Just to say, she's a normal person. She's just, she goes and gets Starbucks. She's not, she is sort of mentored by this older guy who's a former like mercenary special ops guy who's like is well-equipped. And they form this kind of surrogate father-daughter relationship to help each other survive.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
I see, like you said, you're merging genres. You're kind of doing things, and
Yeah.
I think it's more of you're not cookie cutter. You know what I mean? You're not cookie cutter.
No, and I like telling stories about people and that feel real, that feel identifiable, and I think that heightens the drama of stories, because if you can see yourself as that character in that movie, and go like, oh, I would not have thought to do that. I would have done that. I would have. Oh, that's a good. I think it ups the stakes, and it makes people invest in the characters. And if you're invested in the characters, you're invested in the story. You're invested in the movie. I just don't do movies where like characters are just lined up to be mowed down by a chainsaw and stuff. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those movies. Those are great.
Right.
I love putting on something mindless late at night where I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna I'm gonna not be challenged by this movie, right? I'm just gonna it's fine.
Well, and that's
it's fun.
really
But for what I do, yeah.
Right? Jim, you love. I mean, horror is your thing. You love that.
Yeah. No, I'm a big old school classic horror fan. I grew up loving. I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so I grew up in the titular moment of like Jason, Freddy, Leatherface. But I was also a gigantic fan of older black and white monster movies, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, to the point where around the time you started Martial Arts Experience, I started the Board Go Pass Horror Podcast, which is just a audio podcast that's on all sorts of platforms and stuff. And we talk about classic movies every. Deep dives, 2.5 hour episodes into like King Kong and 1933.
Wow.
So nerdy as anything, but it's a fun outlet for me.
That's awesome. So now we're gonna do this next project, which again now and End Times. If somebody wants to watch it, where can they find End Times at?
End Times is on, I believe it's on Amazon. It's definitely on Tubi.
Okay. Tubi is like the king, right? That's the king. Tubi.
Tubi has great stuff. Tubi's great stuff, and it's commercial based, right? So it's ad revenue based. But for someone my age, it's like that's just like having commercials back in the old days. Like, I'm old, man. I'm gonna have to get up and go to the bathroom a couple of times during the movie. So whatever, that's great. I'll go up and get a drink. I don't care. Whatever.
Now this project that I'm going to show, which was a newer one, you brought back one of the actresses from House of Bad, right? And you guys partnered up for this one. This is the Beast Inside.
I didn't bring her back. She came to me. Sadie came to me, and Sadie and I had. Sadie was in House of Bad, and Sadie and I had worked on a couple other projects in the meantime. I sort of produced and edited her documentary in the meantime, and she came to me with this thing. So look, we're both not 20 anymore. She was gentle enough to say, she's like, we need to make this stuff happen for ourselves. So she's like, I'm going to get into producing my own films, and I thought that was brilliant. And she's like, I have this idea about this woman who's possessed, and because she's a woman, nobody believes her, right? They think she's on drugs. They think she has mental illness and stuff. So she has to lock herself away and try to exorcise herself, like a DIY exorcism. And she's like, what do you think about that idea? This is 2021 or 2. She's coming to me with this idea. 2020, probably 2020.
Okay.
And she's like, what do you think of that idea? And I said, I think I wrote the first 30 pages of that exact story in like 2019 or 2017. And I kind of hit a wall and I couldn't figure out. But I'd literally written a story about a woman who's possessed and who is having to exercise herself. So that seemed to be the thing we should do. So that's what we did. We kind of hunkered down and kind of hashed out the idea. And this was right during COVID, and right when we had to wait until we were able to start getting like the vaccinations and everything and mask up and be safe, because 60% of the movie takes place in a motel room, and we have like 11 people in a motel room together, which is just inherently risky at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
But we did. Yeah, she found the money. She produced it and starred in it and everything. We got Chad Courtney, who's my director of photography from House of Bad. He came back over and did a bunch of the. He did the cinematography. My prop guy friend Jim Falkenstein's daughter was now old enough to do the props. Jim was in House of Bad. His daughter was now old enough to do the props for Beast Inside. So it's kind of getting the band back together kind of a thing.
yeah.
And that itself was kind of rewarding. We would, we were right across the street from a bar at the hotel. The hotel was our main location, so we would shoot and then head over to the bar and get some chicken wings and a beer or two and then go to bed and wake up and shoot the next day and everything. I mean, that movie turned around really fast. We had a cut ready, a month and a half after we shot it, and then it was supposed to come out. It didn't come out right away, and then it finally did come out. So I believe it's on Amazon, and I want to say it's on Tubi as well.
Now, and tell everybody the actor, the legendary actor that plays the priest.
So there's this is the kind of like End Times. It's basically a two-hander with a younger woman and an older guy. It was funny. I did that 2 times in a row. I tried to break out of that habit after all. And we had a few options we were going for with this older priest, who's this disgraced priest, who's the only guy who believes her and is the only guy who's willing to help the main character as she tries to go through this process. Because the idea is that there's this demon that has possessed her grandfather and her father before her. Or her mother before her. So it just goes from generation to generation in her family, kind of using up people and letting them die and then moving on to the next generation. And the problem is she's got the son. So she's desperate to take care of this thing before this is what we call the ticking clock in the business. She's desperate to get rid of this thing before it uses her up and passes on to her son and ruins her son's name. And Sadie in real life has a son and everything, so she was just very invested in this kind of story idea. So the priest we got, the guy we ended up going with was Vernon Wells, who you will know as the Mohawk biker guy in The Road Warrior, and also as Bennett in Commando. With Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. The guy who looks like really buff Freddie Mercury, right?
Yeah.
And he was a replacement for a guy last minute on that film too. They brought him in at the last minute, and that's why his wardrobe doesn't quite fit perfectly and everything. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
But Vernon was great. Vernon was really nice. The first night we shot, we started at 3 a.m. at a bar. We had like 6 hours to shoot in this bar during the time it was closed. And it's 3 a.m. It had been raining. The roads were terrible. When it rains in LA, it's terrible because it doesn't rain forever. And then it does rain, and all the oil buildup on the roads makes everything insanely slick. It really... I've driven in rain. I've driven in snow. I will tell you, driving in the rain in LA is bad. It's tough, and also no one knows how to drive in the rain too. So there's that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're driving, and I'm gonna. Can I drop an F-bomb on this episode? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
It's only because I'm quoting.
Everybody's at summer camp, so nobody's watching.
Yeah, whatever. We'll be on C-17.
Watching us. Yeah. We're good. Go ahead.
Vernon shows up, and he walks in. He's like, "Lot of fuckwits on the freeway today," because he's Australian. Anyway, he was great, and you have downtime on some films, not on ours for some reason, Jose, but on some films you have downtime while they're changing a lens or doing something or lighting. And
there's no downtime when we work.
Yeah, we don't do that downtime thing. And I would eventually be like, okay, so Vernon, like while we're doing it, so Vernon, okay, the moment where we're in Road Warrior where you pole vault into the encampment, right, and the guy shows up and you headbutt him, and there's a frame of white when you headbutt him. Was that George Miller's like original idea? Super nerdy, like original idea. Was that a fix to cover up? He's like, no. I was in the editing room with George. That was his idea. The whole thing like that. And then the AD's like, we're ready to go. I was like, no, he's not done with the story yet. Hang on 1 second.
That's so funny.
It was fun. It was fun talking to him about stories. So he was a very nice guy to, he kind of looks like biker Santa Claus now at this point. Does a lot of small budget films and stuff, but he showed up and he was great, and he really brought, he's a Buddhist playing a
Catholic priest,
disgraced priest. Yeah, it was an interesting, so, but he grew up Catholic, so he grew up like Presbyterian or something like that. And the main problem we had was he had to recite the Lord's Prayer, and he was doing I'm not that religious, but he was doing the Presbyterian version, and we had to keep trying to get him to do it the other way, Because
Right.
one is like we forgive trespassers, or we forgive something else, something like that. And just by habit, because he'd done it a million times in his life. He kept doing it the Presbyterian way. So
Oh
we had
my
to keep
God.
get him to do it the Catholic way.
That's so funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh
Great,
God.
great, really good experience. I mean, films are hard experiences, uh, and they should be. You should be challenged, and you should push towards being as good as you can be. So, again, it's that thing of like working with nice folks. Really, helps when that pressure's on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
What's the
So,
next film I did after Beast Inside? I'm trying to think.
oh God.
Oh, right, it was
Hold
this
on,
little
hold on.
movie in Jersey.
Yes, the little movie was like the little engine that could. But hold
Mhm.
on, because you got people chiming in on the show
Oh,
to
okay.
talk to you. Yeah. Jim, you're very popular. Hold on.
Oh, I don't see
So I
these.
got to
Okay.
tell you, we have a wonderful filing, and I think I told you about this in Trinidad and Tobago. So
Oh, yes.
we have a wonderful guy. He's been a supporter of our show for 5 years now. He's based out
Hmm.
of Trinidad and Tobago. His name is Vimal Jagu, and
Vimo.
Vimal is, I think he's been to LA, but there's Vimal. Hey, good
Oh,
looking
Vimo.
dude. Yeah. He came to the Killer X premiere. But Jim, if you could give him a quick shout out to Vimal, just say thanks for tuning in today.
Vimo, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for tuning in here. I appreciate it. LA weather is a bit different Trinidad weather, he says. Yeah, I assume we do. We don't really get hurricanes here. We get fires though, so there's that. It's all everybody's got their thing, right? So I can only imagine. And I hope to, Jose and I have been talking about shooting in something in Trinidad for a bit now, and I hope we finally get to do that. I hope to get the photos and videos you've shown me of Trinidad make me really want to just go there and get
Amazing
some
place.
footage and stuff. I think it's, and the people sound wonderful. So
Yep.
let's hope.
Amazing.
That'd be great. Thank you, Vimal.
Vimal, if Vimal's still on, we're going to make sure if we shoot in Trinidad, Vimal's coming on set. We're going to get him. He's
Heck
coming
yeah.
on. Yeah. He's definitely coming on set.
We'll put a camera in his hand, see what happens.
So here we go. So now you move on from these things, and then you get connected to what was I going to say? You get connected to me through William, right? Through William.
Yeah, because during this whole time, so if we trace back the whole shooting End Times in the late teens and then shooting Beast Inside in 2021 or so, there's that 3-year thing there where like I wasn't getting a lot made because the last film I made had not come out yet, and it's hard to sell somebody on pitching a movie when they're like, "Well, your last movie hasn't come out yet, so what's up?" So in that time, Will had come to me with the idea of creating a martial arts series called 52 Masters, and have me kind of produce, direct, and edit all the series for him. And the idea was to create a professional level kind of series for with a very small crew and very small budget and very small hang on, my series thinks I'm trying to text Will because I've said his name too many times. So he's like, it's like Candyman.
Oh geez.
And we done it, and I don't know, I mean, we're at 40 some episodes at this point of this series we've done over the past like 6 or 7 years or something. It's really really an incredible show, and the dedication and stuff. There's been a start stop thing because life happens and everything. But we just released like the latest episode on Amazon or on YouTube. It was briefly on Amazon for a while. I think it might still be on Freevee, which is part of Amazon, I think.
Freebie, yeah. That's kind of newer. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So in that time, Will and I had been working together, and Will was doing episodes. So 52 Masters is Will Ford, who's a 5th Dan black belt in karate, training with all sorts of other martial artists of different styles and lineages, especially in things that he's not trained in. So everything from the idea. I think maybe someone who's not that familiar with martial arts is less understanding that, first of all, most martial arts represent the country and ethnicity of the people it grew out of, right? And then they're vastly different physical styles. Some are it's hard. It's called hard and soft, right? Is the term a lot of people use. Yeah. The more fluid stuff like wushu versus the more frictive stuff like what you do, right? but and for me the fun was watching, a 50-year-old dude suddenly try to do capoeira, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah,
super
it's like,
acrobatic. You're doing like handstands and stuff. I mean, it's
yeah,
just so it's like a dance almost.
yeah.
And but Brazilian jiu-jitsu and Salat and Eskrima and all sorts of, so it's been a fun thing following Will in this journey of like, he has this white belt concept of just walking into a new dojo, with all your accomplishments in your style, walking to a new dojo or school or whatever, and putting the white belt back on and being a beginner, had the beginner's
A
mind
lot
kind
of
of
people,
concept.
a lot of people would not do that, and I
I
can
it does seem that way. Yeah, yeah.
no, no, a
And
lot of people,
people are proud of their accomplishments,
yeah.
in any field. Of course, that makes sense. But Will's not that guy. So Will's comfortable walking in there and not being good at something, which I think is the main lesson of 52 Masters, and it's something I've incorporated too. Is like, you know, I shot like second camera or like B camera or insert footage and stuff for some of my films, for end
Right,
times, for Beast Inside or pickups.
right.
I'd never really been a cinematographer on a feature film before. I'd written a bunch of stuff, and I've never done that. And when it came, I'm going to segue. When it came time to talking about doing our film together in New Jersey, we just didn't feel like I didn't feel like we were going to be able to find someone we could afford who was going to be able to do the
Yep.
job. Yeah, that person did not exist yet. I think they do now, but they didn't at the time. And that's when I was like, well, okay, fine, I'm going to shoot it myself. And I was really unsure about that, because you can, like I said on another show, like, you can, when you're directing, you can maybe not get quite enough coverage, and you can edit it together and make it work and maybe whatever like that. If you're shooting the film and you get like a scene out of focus or something like that, or you mess up the exposure, like that seems screwed. You're not coming back from that. You're gonna have to reshoot it. So you have the capability to really mess things up. And I was
Yeah,
worried coming to Jersey, being like the professional filmmaker LA guy, that I was gonna be the one who goofed something up.
it's
And I was
pressure,
really like,
pressure.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
let's
And
have,
it is pressure all the time.
yeah.
Now I've done 4 films, I've shot myself. And there's still the pressure. I'm a little less stressed about those things. I'm more stressed about getting a certain type of look now as my style's evolving. But yeah,
So I'm gonna
the white
play
belt.
one of our teasers to let the
Oh yeah.
viewers know, this is Jim. This is Jim's work as a DP editor. He was everything. He did everything for this project, and then we'll go, we'll break it down as far as who we had involved. But let's see.
I knew there'd be things that you couldn't tell me. I just thought they were in the past.
It's been a minute.
It's been a lot of minutes.
I know you weren't going to the dojo to pick up that stuff. I know there's something else.
Is she here?
It has to do with Ayana, doesn't it?
It does, but it's not like that. I need to know who she's in trouble with.
Who's she not in trouble with?
We're talking about the stuff we don't talk about, aren't we?
It was his man she killed, Ahmed Shakur. He's as real as they get.
Are we safe? Are the kids safe?
They weren't just assassins, some kind of death cult.
What would it take to get it out of this? Make things right.
Besides her corpse?
I want to talk to him.
No, you don't, Victor. You got out. Clean. Not everybody gets that.
You and the kids are the only thing that matters to me. You know that, right?
You have too much to lose now.
Man, Jim.
That looks like a good movie. I want to see that movie. Wow. I don't think I've seen that trailer in a long time. I was like, that's really. We should credit who edited that trailer. 'Cause I did not
Angela.
edit that trailer.
Angela
Yeah,
Torres.
yeah.
Angela.
Great, amazing job putting that together. Yeah.
Yeah, Angela's great.
uh,
I mean, you gave her the footage, and she has a great creative eye. Talented.
Yeah.
She's an action actress.
Yeah. Real
well,
great
actually,
style and everything. Brought a lot of
yeah.
kineticism to that and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, Elaine, with Elena, with Will, with Mohammed Kisi, with Lawrence,
Yes.
Amanda Schoonover, I should say.
Alan Radway.
Yeah, Alan Radway, Jesse Groover. We really we had a great bunch of mostly local
Talent.
folks, people from Philly and stuff. Yeah, I mean, you brought in some great people. I was able to bring in some folks that I knew and start a relationship. I ended up the next movie one of the next movies I made starred Amanda, which was great. She and I got to like do our own film after that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but that was the first time I directed her since I'd known her back in college days. So,
That's awesome.
Alan, old buddy of mine. But then like, yeah, working with like Lawrence is great. And getting to work with Mohammed was such a finally getting to work with Mohammed was such a treat. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Funny.
It was weird how everything came together, right? And just, Jim, people wanting to work with us, it wasn't like, think about that. There was a lot of people that were like, hey man, we're all in. We want to support you, which, is a testament to the environment, the testament to the project, to you, to leadership, to everything that was happening. People were like, hey, I want to get aboard this freight train, this freight train, because that's what it was. I think that even when you and I first talked about this, what we first talked about in August is not what we ended up producing. You know what I mean? From magnitude, right? And just the scope.
It grew for sure. Yeah, we had an idea for a very simple kind of story, and it got a lot more kinetic and a lot more dynamic.
Hey,
as
Jim,
locations.
I got an idea. I got a hold of Tong Po. You think we could put him in?
Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like Jose, I think the main character villain lady stays in a bathhouse for most of the movie. Can we find a thing? And then cut to Jose and I in Reading, PA, at this like Love Shack hotel, checking out a room together, having our show, and we're like, we're actually not a couple. We're actually never mind.
Yeah,
we couldn't tell her what we're doing because we were trying to shoot a movie there. That was fun. But you found that.
They didn't want us to shoot. Do you remember?
Oh, we show up to this love motel with like 11 people in the room, and they're like, "Hang on."
Do you remember?
We're open-minded, but.
And then we had to like bring people in. Do you remember how like
you had to go out and sneak people in one at a time, this whole thing. But they called it. I was like, you deal with this. You're the charming guy. You'll make this, and you did. You made it work.
Oh my god,
that was absolutely hilarious. But then finding the boathouse and working with Steve, our producer, on the assets he was able to bring to the production. What a guy and what a handy person to be creating with. And of course we need to talk about Larry, obviously, because Larry just
without him
it wouldn't have happened. Yeah.
No, amazing executive producer. Really, putting in finances and supporting again a vision.
Yeah.
And that's hard, right? That's hard to come by because I feel like, and this the best having thing, right? The union versus non-union and all these different things. Everybody moves at a really different pace, And I feel like, and I would like to ask your opinion because, it's funny in this day and age over the last 5 to 10 years, it is, I feel, a very not easier, but there's more opportunity for independent filmmakers. 25 years ago, you couldn't just shoot, edit, and distribute it. It didn't arrive. You had to be old film world. You had to have connections. You couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Now, that whole process is re-engineered, right? And you even have older regimes, right? They don't like what's happening now. They don't like that, right? That like independent people, because independent, I really think that's where it's going. Because let's be honest, TV is not what it was before. Streaming is taking over, and even the original, heavyweight of Netflix and all these other things, you have these up and coming now, right? That are really, again, from Tubi. Tubi is very successful. Peacock now is going to start taking some independent stuff. There's some other people, right? That's really, or non-SAG signatory things, like where it had to be something before. Now it's a different opportunity for independence. And what's your feeling with that? Do you kind of see that same trajectory?
The end result of however you do this, to some degree, all has to be the same. You have to end up with something that is, feature length. Timings have changed a little bit, but something that's basically around a 90 minute, 70 to 120 minute, kind of project. So, and it has to have video, and it has to have sound, it has to have a story, and it has to have, it has to look interesting. There's some things that aren't malleable, right? In the end product. How you get there is the thing that technology has changed, and by changing the machinery by which we make the movie, instead of a giant cinema camera, we have a insanely small, insanely powerful tools. I'm literally shooting myself for this podcast on the same camera I've shot feature films on. I wouldn't be doing that with a 35 millimeter Aeroflex. That just didn't happen. So what technology has done with not just video, but with lighting and with audio, is democratize the industry, right? The access point to making a movie is a much lower cost than it used to be.
Correct.
The flip side of that is in making it so that anyone can make a movie. Everyone is making movies now. So in the old days, when you used to have 1,700 movies come out a year, if you had produced and created a movie and was done and it was at least watchable, you were sitting on a real commodity. At this point, there's a metric ton more competition as far as other movies out there in the world competing against your movie. So I would say it's changed the way we make movies, but it has absolutely changed the way we sell movies and distribute films. And obviously, you and I are old enough to remember home video, and that was a huge aftermarket in the old days. Where like if there were movies that didn't do well in the theater, and then they did amazing on home video, and became kind of cult icons there. Now you have, but that was still limited. Like you could only get so many movies on home video. Not everything was out there. Now it's tough because streaming has
monopolized.
And it's cheapened it's made finding the movie you want to watch cheaper, but it's also, I will say, I think it's cheapened the experience as well. It's not as, you're not going to the store and picking up Tremors and bringing it home and putting it, kneeling in front of your disc player and feeding it in and pushing play. There's not a ritual to it anymore. It's just like you're just sitting there like, screw it, I'll just watch Game of Thrones again. It's whatever. So I think our cultural appreciation for entertainment is changed dramatically, and the younger generations, the more millennial Gen Z generations and whatever's coming after Gen Z is what they're looking to get out of it is different sometimes. I flew on a plane recently, and for some reason Citizen Kane was one of the selections and stuff. I was like, I haven't watched it in a while. I'm gonna watch Citizen Kane on a plane, because Orson Welles would just be like, that would just blow, whatever, let's watch it. And the young girl sitting next to me, I watched Citizen Kane, and she watched 4 minutes of about 35 different things, of 35 different movies. I just watched her out of the corner of my eye. She'd watch them. Nope, watch this. Nope, watching this. Nope, watching this. Like, oh, dude, settle on something. What are you doing? So that's not to make fun of her or make fun of young people or anything like that. I'm saying the challenge of a filmmaker in 2026 is to create something that engages not just someone my age, but someone that young lady's age too, and hold their attention. And my thinking is, the thing that has not changed at all, that technology does not change it, is creating a good story with good characters that people invest in. So
still have to be a good actor. Still have to tell a good story. You still got to be able to deliver, and that doesn't change. The looks change, right? The looks and what's accepted now is different than 25, 30 years ago. But I feel like that mentality, that is not what it is now. You're absolutely right. You know what I mean? Just because you put something, before, or a perfect example, look at how all of the superhero movies or all these big budget, $200-300 million films, and they're bombing. That formula doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. And you got movies like Starfire and the other ones that are killing it. Yeah. I mean, I will say, I think people, there's a cultural fatigue on certain types of movies. So if there's a glut of these movies over and over and over again, then like when you're coming out on the tail end of that, you're probably not going to break through unless you're doing something kind of remarkable. And I think people still like to be surprised by things, and I think genre filmmaking, I think the best place you can be in as an independent filmmaker especially is genre filmmaking, because genres have dedicated fan bases, and there's a collector kind of mentality to that. Like, people who like horror movies have to see everything that comes out. I don't think people who like romantic comedies feel the need to like see every single romantic comedy that comes out, right? There's a collector thing like that. And I speaking to that, I think we found the niche with martial arts, right?
And martial
Because
arts is the same. Yes, exactly. That's why I
very
love
loyal
working with
base. They
those two
believe in
genres.
DVDs, because we had a tremendous run with online DVD sales. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
Killer X, people were buying it, and,
Yeah.
and our distributor, Allied Media, had it on Best Buy, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Walmart. People were buying it and taking pictures and sending it to me. You know,
I think there's a higher connoisseurship in martial arts and in horror than there is in a lot of other genres. And I think those people are collectors. They want a library of these projects that they can, you know, have on their shelf and reference and stuff. Because especially martial arts, it's like I know people are like, you know what, there's that one scene in that one Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah.
In the alley, and you know, Big Boss or something like that. Like, I'm just gonna pop this. I just want to watch that one thing because a lot of martial arts fans are martial arts themselves, and I think there's a professional appreciation to what you bring to the thing. But come with that comes a very high expectation where if you just do crap martial arts in your movie, you're gonna get called on it, right?
You're gonna get called on it. People are not gonna embrace it, and you have, especially if you look on Instagram or TikTok of what's going on, the younger guys coming up, oh my God, their stunt stuff is sick. Like the fight sequences, it's next level. You know, the camera work, everything is different. You know, you're not taking static anymore, right? You're not doing any of this other shit. Like you got guys that are with their cameras all over the place and it's just making it more kinetic. With
the last couple of years there's been this advent of like the stuntman cinematographer, the guy or girl who goes out the window after the actor on a wire with the camera and everything. And that's the other thing is the cameras have gotten smaller, lighter, and frankly more disposable. So if you just destroy the camera, it's not the end of your production. You can have a couple and you can, you know, but the effect that has is it makes you less precious about filming and more nimble. So with the greater freedom of being able to film, like on a gimbal or you know, hanging from something or whatever, just suspend a camera over top of somebody. You don't have to worry if it falls, it's going to crush their skull, right? With that comes a higher expectation. It's like, we can't do these things. So what are you doing that we haven't seen before? And that's what movies like, I think, Extraction do. Like Extraction comes out and everyone's like, wait, how is this a real thing? I got to blow my nose. I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. No problem at all. And this happens. This is the real podcast world. You know what I mean? This is the real way that it happens. But you know,
okay,
Jim,
I'm back.
Okay. But Jim, it's crazy. Like I said, it's just the way that, you know, Killer X evolved. And I really believe, like I said, it was like this little engine, you know, and then we didn't know we were going to get distributed. We had multiple conversations back and forth. And then as it started happening, and I found one group, right, that we didn't have to sell the farm away. And it was like, hey, we'll put it here. We'll see how it does, you know, And Killer X is out there now. Killer X is doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's really, really working, you know? Uh-oh, I think Jim froze on us. He might have left us. Jim might have left us. I'm going to see. I'm going to pull him out. Sometimes that happens. So, you know, it's crazy because we started, you know, Killer X from basically next to nothing, you know, basically next to nothing. And it was an opportunity to, you know, showcase and deliver an opportunity to the viewers, you know, kind of like a love letter to martial arts. And it was our first production. You know, we had no idea, you know, what was going on and where it was going to go, you know, and it was crazy to kind of see what was going to happen. And we were very blessed for that because we ended up making a great production. As I said, we were able to, you know, really be able to showcase martial arts and added all these wonderful people in this show, you know, for the first movie. I mean, again, getting to work with Tong Po from Kickboxer. I mean, he's an absolute legend. You know, he's best friends with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Everybody knows that history. And it was an amazing opportunity to work with him. And then William Christopher Ford, you know, bringing him in and having him able to help us, you know, because William was very instrumental on making Killer X and my connections with Jim Towns and, all these things happen, it was amazing. It really, really, really was, to kind of see, what happened and what was going on. So everything kind of led to us kind of moving forward and being able to, bring this idea of this like retired assassin, who his family got thrown in, and I got to work with Elena Chernova, who was phenomenal actress, stunt woman. She did some great things, did all of her own fight scenes, and she was kind of like my leading lady, for that first film, which was absolutely amazing. She was just an amazing individual. I was excited to work with her and to have her as my first, person that I was able to work with. She was awesome. She was always professional, and it really, really, really brought, a lot to the table. So I'm going to try to see if we can potentially get Jim back on somehow, some way, and give him the opportunity to be able to log back in for us to the show, so we can kind of keep him busy, because sometimes it happens, especially in LA. That happened really bad with it was Sean Kanan. I remember he had a hard time kind of logging in the one time from Signal Wise to LA or whatever was going on. So let's see if we can bring this out, and we'll go from there. So I'll give Jim a little bit of time to be able to log back in to see. What I am going to do is Jim was very instrumental. He actually helped with the current project that we're working on, which is City of Honor. He's very big with the first episode. Gave some ideas as far as some characters and stuff like that, and then I ended up, doing some collaborative things for episode 2 and 3. But again, it's been, working with Jim and this opportunity. As far as working together, it's been a great, great, great thing. So I'm going to try it again to give him a few more minutes to see if he can log back in, hopefully. And then otherwise, we will give him, I think he's here. Jim, are you back in, brother? I see your screen. We'll give Jim a little bit of time, see if he can pop back in.
Hello.
Hey, there you are, Jim.
I'm back. Am I back? Okay. Ooh, there we go.
That was our official commercial break. Don't worry, I kept talking. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
I'm sure. I'm sure you filled in. No problem.
So
Sorry
what I did
that,
is, yeah, no problem. So as we're approaching the 1 hour mark, I definitely want to kind of close out to what is the future of Killer X, and I wanted to ask you, so you could tell the viewers, Jim, what did making Killer X, and where does that project kind of land in the Jim Towns world, you know what I mean? In his thing, like, you know what I mean? What did that project mean to you? And did it help? Did it hurt? Did it, you know what I mean? Like, hey, set up stuff or whatever, but, elaborate for us, elaborate.
I mean, Killer X, as I said before, it kind of came to me at a point where I was not having a lot of fun doing what I have chosen to do for a living and as a personal artistic expression. I was working on some documentary stuff with people that were just not great people to work with. I mean, in general, they're probably fine people. They're just not good people to work with. And I was starting to get really bummed out about, like, whatever, and I think that was a couple things. I think I was held up by always having to work with other cinematographers and editors, which is, to be honest, more normal in the studios, in the filmmaking system, right? Is that one person writes, one person directs, one person edits, one person films, and I'd been doing smaller stuff on my own, but for the feature films, I've been holding on to this kind of thing, and I think it's because it made me feel like I was a professional and a industry guy or something like that. Killer X comes along, and I sort of just shoved that prejudice to the side and said, okay, I'm gonna write, direct, shoot, and edit this movie. I'm gonna assume all the jobs, and just work with this great guy and to create like a movie that I would want to watch, that I would have fun doing. And in doing that, all these things that were making my job not that much fun went away. Having to find a cinematographer, having to pay a cinematographer, having to have a meeting about minds with a cinematographer where they have their own idea of how things should work and I have my idea, and we have to sort of compromise to whatever like that. And when I realized, like, after shooting Killer X1 and it came out looking, I was pretty happy with how it looked. I was like, okay, this is a new model now moving forward, where I am now my own little boutique studio kind of thing, and all ego to the side. Like I can come in and I can shoot, I can write the project, I can direct the scene the way I imagined it looking, I can shoot it the way I would want it shot, and I can cut it at the tempo and everything. So now I have like kind of this total circular control over the end result of the thing I create, and thereby the thing I create comes out very much closer to what I'd imagined in the beginning. It's hard when you have a great idea and the end result comes out and you're like, no, it wasn't exactly, had a my producer had an idea and my editor went a different way. In so doing that, it became way more gratifying. And so after that, I went on and did a movie called Mandromeda, that I did the same, wrote, shot, directed, edited.
Right.
Amanda Schoonover and I did Mercy, which is also complete, and we're doing the festivals and stuff, and now I'm doing a limited series called Whisper House. All the same kind of process. So to me, to answer your question, I think Killer X was the beginning of a second chapter of my filmmaking career, one that is difficult physically and taxing, but is incredibly more rewarding, and also in just working with you, man, showed me like I can have a really good working relationship with a producer that's based on very much mutual respect, and also very much appreciating the expertise in certain areas that one has and the other doesn't. Like I come in and like I understood the filmmaking kind of thing at that point. You're way more facile than in 2020 whatever when we shot Killer X now, man. But in the day, like you respect it. You're like, okay, I trust you to shoot it the way you want to shoot.
I think, what did I ask you? Maybe 4 questions the whole shoot. I didn't know I didn't know anything, Jim.
Yeah. I know it was great. I got away with everything.
Yeah,
You didn't know any better. But But I'll say, the thing I hold to, and I think is really important as a creative or as a martial artist or as anybody, is to never be satisfied with your current performance. Always being able to look at it and go, I could level this up. I could get this better. Which is why I'm insanely excited to work with you on Killer X 2, because I think we've both leveled up. Hey, cue the thing dramatically.
Yeah.
In the years intervening since we did Killer X 1. I think we can produce and release something much more mature, much deeper. And it wasn't just, I think we had to establish things with Killer X1 with the characters and things.
Yeah.
It's like you have to give the characters all sorts of things before you can take those things away. And then really tell a dramatic story. And I think that's what Killer X1 has allowed for me to grow as a filmmaker and to be ready now a couple years later to tackle a sequel.
Well, and I think, without releasing, because we're going to start, right? We're going to start our process as we've been doing pre-production and, our meetings and everything. But this process gets to be a little bit different than when we did the first one, right? Because now we have a successful playbook of what we did for the first one, right?
Yeah.
Now we can turbocharge it, right? And in both facets, because I feel like, I have more of an idea now, right? I pray I'm a better actor. I look better, all these things. So it should pop more. But I also think we were very successful in some things. So I've already locked in. We're going to do the DVD again. We're going to do like all these different things that were successful for us. It is cool, and I think people are going to get it. But we're also leveling up the story, right? And what we're going to give to the people, because, I felt Killer X was an amazing love letter, right? And it was funny. We were finding roles for like these iconic characters, Gerald Okamura, William Ford, Muhammad Kisi,
right.
all these fight scenes. But we didn't really have a lot of time to jump into the backstory of these guys, right? Where I think Killer X 2, Jim, is going to, as we've spoken, I think people are going to be surprised. I really think, it's a darker tone, right? We know everybody, that's what we're pushing. It's definitely a darker tone movie. And it's going to center, I really think, about the core values, right, of the character and kind of, the story that we're trying to tell.
I think so, and I think the stuff that was going on behind the scenes in the story in Killer X1 now gets to kind of move towards the front, and we see the more shadowy world that this character Victor exists in and has to kind of navigate. I think creativity is a lot about parameters too, and about boundaries. And I think there's things we want to replicate from Killer X1. There's things we want to absolutely go a different direction from Killer X1. And I think that's a fun challenge to be like, okay, well, we did that. We did it. We're happy with that. That's fine. Now let's try the next thing. Man, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
A lot of people are excited. I've gotten a lot of wonderful messages. I think, we're going to be showing some new characters. Now, I do know our main villain, our big bad, he already shared stuff on his thing. So he's excited. He did.
Oh, good.
He did. He shared one of the pages. So I'll drop one of the pages here because obviously we'll start doing it. But for those of you that know, Silvio Simak is going to be our main villain, Nikolai. And I mean, he's just a monster in himself. Silvio's been in Unleashed with Jet Li, Transporter with Jason Statham, Undisputed with Scott Adkins and Michael Jai White. And he's going to play the ruthless international enforcer tied to the unfinished contract from Killer X Part 1. Silvio is amazingly talented, humble human being, and just a killer on the screen. So I think showing that disparity between us is going to be really fun, I think, and interesting and intriguing for the viewer, because Silvio's much bigger than me, taller. Everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think the measure of a hero is the what he's set up against, like the adversity he's set up against, and I think Silvio works great for that. He's British, so he's got the accent. I mean, that would kind of cool. Look at those two guys. Look at those two tough dudes, man. But what I really am happy about is the theme of Killer X1 is that you can't outrun your past. You have to face it, and I think Killer X2 Final Debt is going to just restate that thesis and take it further and take it more to a more intense kind of place, man. So
yeah. I'm excited. Honestly, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're slated right November. Hopefully we start to shoot.
Let's do it.
That's the game plan, and I think this will be on the slate to we drop it in 2027. It'll be a very talked about independent film, and who knows, things, right? We never know. But Silvio's locked
I need to buy a winter coat, don't I?
You
It's
probably
gonna be November in Jersey, right?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna need something.
We were talking about filming in other locations where I wasn't gonna need a coat, and now we're back to talking about Jersey. I was like, I'm gonna.
Yeah. You already know that. Yeah.
Buy some long underwear, I think.
Long underwear. We'll make sure to have your Coca-Cola on ice.
Yeah.
Ready. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Nice and cold. That won't be a problem.
Anybody knows if they want to hire,
sweat a little less than Killer X1.
Yes. But if anybody wants to hire Jim, you better have a deal with Coca-Cola because he likes his Coca-Cola drinks. So that's the only way.
I don't drink coffee, so that's my main source of caffeine. So that's kind of what keeps me running on a set, man. Although I have recently discovered product placement, Liquid Death. This is their it's a hard iced tea. It's their sweet tea with agave, but it's got good caffeine in it. So
nice. That's awesome.
Whatever works. And anything that's not cocaine is that keeps me going. Yeah. Without the draws to come down. Yeah. So I'm psyched, man. Some of those locations you've been showing me, I'm blown away by it. I'm just like, oh, okay, this is gonna be I've done a couple films back east now. I did Killer X1 and I did Mercy. I show them back to people in LA and they're like, how are you getting these amazing locations and everything? This would cost $500,000 in LA. And you go back and it's like, no, I just know a guy. I know a guy who's got a place, he's going to do us a favor. We'll get it for not much. And everything. It's amazing. The production value you get makes it well worth, the cross country trip and everything. So I'm psyched. I'm psyched to shoot in these places and shoot you in these places too. I think we're going to have some cool fights. Some of the examples you've been sending me, you're like, can we do something like this? And you send me an example. I'm like, well, I can film it like that. If you can do it, I can film that. So
yeah. Well, it's funny because we're going to start doing some previs, I think at the end of this month. So we'll be sending some stuff, which will be awesome. Yeah, the biggest thing is really leveling up the action as best as possible, that we can. And, again, even us, because I kind of started my own stunt team now, Action 365. So I have almost a stable now of guys that I know, right, how they move, how they look, are they reliable, and how do they move with me. Because let's be honest, Van Damme, Seagal, all the big dogs, they use the same stunt guys because they made them look good, And
No,
so
exactly.
that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, but bringing back some old characters, some guys. I think that'll be part of the stunt team as well. But I'm excited. Like I said, I think Sylvia is going to be awesome. You know, we got a couple other surprises, right? We're not going to kind of let them out at this point, but
Right.
you know, and you have already shot the beginning of the
Yeah.
yeah,
We
got that all right.
pre-shot sort of the prelude to the film. We shot it like last year
Yeah,
here
yeah.
here in LA just to make sure we had it and everything. But what that also did was set a tone of the way I want to shoot the second one as opposed to the way I shot the first one, the colors and
Very
the
dark,
shadows
very
and
dark.
everything. Yeah, just the thing. And that's incredibly helpful with being able to do that with Gerald Okamura and Ansa Wu. We shot at Kaizen Dojo with Will Ford's blessing. That alone, like that, now as I'm writing the actual film, having already shot that first thing, which I've never done this before, this is a new kind of paradigm. I'm like, okay, it's got to continue this vibe and this mood and stuff. A lot of
Yeah.
like silences and suspense and, you know, building up to like very intense action. I think is gonna be our kind of hallmark for the thing. So yeah, man.
It's gonna be
Psyched.
awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Jim, I want to thank you for taking
Yes.
the time. I think we could
Oh
probably do
yeah.
a two-part series because we're almost at like an hour 15 already.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anything you want to leave with the viewers, any advice you can give to an up-and-coming filmmaker, maybe, you know, trying to go in a specific direction. I like when you were like, you know, taking control and navigating, because that's what the current scene is now. It's different. It's a different
Yeah.
world than it was 25 years ago. And I think in
Yeah.
another 15 to 20 years, it's going to change again, you know?
Oh, in another 7 months, it's going to be a different thing. You know, I mean, right now you've got that Backrooms movie came out, and I've got producers going like, oh, all we need to do is get our movie really popular is to do 5 years worth of YouTube, and you're like, but so my advice would be here's what would be my thing. My closing thing was like, do not chase these trends. These trends are, you know, for every film you heard that made some huge success in one certain way, there's 4,000 movies that did the exact same thing that didn't achieve that kind of success. So if you're
Right.
trying to copy someone else's playbook, you're probably just going to waste a lot of your time and a lot of your creative energy and everything. So again, it just goes back to find a really interesting story that you have in your mind an idea of how you're going to make that come to life. You know, if you have access to some amazing location, or you have some access to some really, you know, the perfect actor for this story, craft what you're trying to do around that as much as you can, the assets you have in hand, and then find that really interesting story with interesting characters to incorporate those things you have into, and that's how you know, my first feature film, we filmed at an abandoned lunatic asylum outside of Pittsburgh that we just were able to get access to, and so the whole movie takes place there. I mean, why wouldn't
Right.
you just use that? I mean, you know, you don't have to do a thing to it. It's already crumbling and everything, and it's scary as shit. So, you know, yeah. So that'd be my thing. Yeah. Work with
Awesome.
what you got, right?
Jim, if you could do a quick sound off. So for the new season and last season, I ended up doing where I had every guest say, you know, hey, this is Jose Torres, and you're watching the Martial Arts Experience. So if you could sign off
Okay.
for us, that would be
All right.
amazing. Martial Arts
I
Experience.
don't identify myself as Jose Torres though, right?
No, you have to do Jim Towns. I mean, you could be Jose,
Okay.
but in a different movie.
Just to be clear, I'm not the Latin dragon enough to do that. Got it in there. Hey everybody, I'm Jim Towns, and you're watching the Martial Arts Experience.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you taking time, watching Jim Towns, the amazing man. I mean, Jim is a great at a job. I mean, honestly, it opened up so many doors for me, and it was an honor to have you on today. Honestly, Jim, thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for our partnership, man. I'm so grateful
Great
to
job.
continue creating with you.
Great job.
It'd be
And I'm
great.
pumped for Killer X2, man. I think everybody's going to
Me
be
too.
on. You know what I mean? We're ready. We're ready to move forward, and we got some big things happening. So thanks for tuning
For
in
sure.
today, guys, and we'll catch
Thanks
you.
everybody.
So next week, stay on for next Wednesday. We're going to be sitting down with stunt director, action director Freddie Poole, who everybody knows from Tulsa King. So he's going to be coming aboard, which is awesome. Yeah, some cool stuff. So again, thanks for tuning in. Jim Towns, you're the man. Love you, brother. Thank you, man.
Thanks everybody, man. Thanks, Jose.
All right, awesome. Have a good one, guys.